Hey guys, welcome to Priceless B Movies. My name's Colin Price, and tonight we're going to step away from the VHSs and the DVDs and we're going to go right to the theater. Kind of. Popcorn. Popcorn stars Jill Shalin as Maggie. Maggie's a girl in high school. She's also part of a film club at her school, and they are just stressed to keep this club alive. As it is with a lot of schools even today. Film clubs and drama clubs don't really tend to get the attention that sports do and that the band does. This film club consists of Maggie and also a handful of other kids. Tom Villard is one of them, and he's kind of the know-it-all. There's also genre favorites such as Kelly Jo Minter, who's basically doing the same thing in this movie that she does in every 80s movie. She's basically the sassy black girl. In an attempt to get more funding for this film club, they decide that they are going to put on a horror marathon at an old local theater, and they're going to show three really old B movies that are really horrible. But they're going to pull a William Castle here and have all these gimmicks that go along with each movie. For example, there's a giant bug movie, and they're going to have a large fake mosquito swoop down over the audience. Not gonna lie, this is a pretty good setting for a horror movie. It also helps when you have cameos from Dee Wallace, and from Ray Walston from My Favorite Martian, and Bruce Glover from everything. The only thing that really becomes a problem is when the night in question comes and they have their screening of these three movies, there's this Leatherface type killer who ends up picking them off one by one behind the scenes while the audience is distracted. Before I get too much into what I like and don't like about this movie, as I said before, this is a really cool idea for a horror film and a slasher film, to have it take place over the course of a theatrical experience within the theater. Now, there are some things that I really did enjoy about this movie. The acting is really good. The setup is really good. The location is really good. There are some very smart ideas in this movie. That being said, some of the ideas that they put into this movie are really unnecessary. In fact, there's an entire subplot that starts from the beginning of the movie about Maggie having these dreams of this film and this filmmaker, and it's supposed to lead you to believe that this mysterious guy is going to somehow not only be the one haunting her dreams, but also end up being the killer. Not spoiling too much for you to tell you that a half an hour into this movie, you realize that that's not the case. In fact, this guy who she's dreaming about, and this filmmaker, this mysterious guy who's built up to be the villain of the story, has nothing to do with the story. Nothing to do with the story at all. That kind of pissed me off. I almost feel like the script was too short, so they had to throw in this weird red herring and have you concerned about this character when ultimately the character means nothing to the film. Another thing that I'm going to point out about Popcorn is, even though it has an R rating, this is an extremely tame movie in terms of content. In fact, on the gore meter, this movie wouldn't even really come past a 4 or a 5 out of 10. All the kills are relatively bloodless, and ultimately I think if you made this movie today, shot by shot, it would be a PG-13 hands down. I do not understand the R rating behind this movie at all. Also on the skin meter, there's nothing. There's no sex in this entire movie, at least not that I recall. It almost seems like the movie was more interested in being an entertaining movie than being a scary movie. Of course, there's some spooky stuff that happens, and there's some really cool images, and once your main villain is revealed, he is kind of creepy looking. But overall, the film really does play for laughs more than it plays for scares. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I don't understand the R rating on this. Going back to the actors, I think Tom Villard and Ray Walston both really walk away with the movie, but I don't want to tell you too much about their characters that I already haven't, because there's a lot of spoilers. And once you do get to the identity of the killer, it's actually an interesting thing that happens, because identity doesn't quite describe this character. If you see the movie, you'll understand what I mean by that. It's definitely one person in the movie is the villain, but I wouldn't be too quick to tell you who it is, because even if I did, it wouldn't really make sense to you until you see the film. And also, there's the reveal of the villain, and they do have that scene that we've seen in a million horror movies and action movies, where there's the reveal of the villain, and they've got the damsel in distress tied up, and they're explaining the whole plan. Now, normally this is the low point in a lot of movies, but in Popcorn, that's my favorite scene. The performer playing the villain in this does a really good job in this scene, with just the right amount of menace and hilarity to kind of make you think, wow, this guy really is crazy. And not only is he really crazy, but once you understand what his motive is and what his backstory is, then you really do side with him a bit. You really do understand why he's trying to kill all these people. I'm not saying that lightly. I totally bought it. I felt sorry for the guy. Overall, I'll go ahead and give Popcorn 2.5 out of 4 stars. I think it's a good movie. I think it's an entertaining movie. But there's a lot in it that's really not necessary. And considering the high points of the film, while they are definitely high points, there's really not a whole lot of them. I think that this is a great movie to rent and watch, but I don't think it's a movie that you're going to remember too much after you watch it. I don't think that the next week you're going to remember the name of it or any of the names of the characters in it. I think it's just going to kind of enter your mind and leave it almost immediately. So that's my review of Popcorn. Stay tuned to the channel. Pretty soon I'm going to put up a couple more reviews, as well as a video blog where I'm going to discuss the use of gore in horror movies. Why a lot of slasher movies have an overabundance of blood. Why some slasher movies are completely bloodless. What makes a filmmaker decide if they're making a slasher movie? Should they make it really violent or should they not make it really violent? When is gore the answer? When is suspense the answer? I'm going to try to tackle all these issues in that blog. Thanks for watching. And once again, and as always, if there is a movie that is of the horror, action, or crime variety that you think gets overlooked, that you think is underrated, that no one ever talks about, and you'd like to hear my opinion on it, please mention it in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do about getting a review posted for it. Have a good night, and thanks again for watching Priceless B Movies.